This meeting will not be broadcast live. However, a recording will be made available as soon as possible after the meeting has concluded. As always, we welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I've had no requests for anyone to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Please can members attending via Teams refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. Please can you remember to keep your microphone muted when you're not talking. Before I move on to the agenda, if members of the committee could stay around for 5-10 minutes at the end of the meeting, I'd be grateful. There's an issue that Alex and I would like to update you on. And obviously it shouldn't take, hopefully the substantive part of the meeting shouldn't take too long today anyway. It's a pretty short agenda. So actually moving on to the agenda, item number 1, we have attendance and apologies. So Geraint.
Thank you, Chair. The only apologies I'm aware of is Councillor Simons.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any apologies to give? Okay, moving on then. Agenda item number 2, declarations of interest, which is back to Geraint.
Thank you, Chair. I'll go through the usual list, and if members can just let me know if what we've got is correct, please. I'll start with Councillor Gordon. I've got that yourself, your wife, your stepdaughter and your stepdaughter's partner are all contributors. And
that's correct.
And on top of that, you declare personal interest due to your work as a Unison official. Is that everything?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Haller, I've got that you are a contributor.
That's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Simons, apologies. Councillor Slade, I've got that you are in receipt of a pension and you are also a contributor.
That's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, yourself and your wife are in receipt of a pension and yourself and your wife are also contributors?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. And lastly, Chair, I've got that your father and 2 other family members are in receipt of pensions and that you are a contributor.
That's correct.
That's everybody. Thank you all.
Fantastic. Thank you, Geraint. Okay, then item number 3 and the reason we're here today. We have the Pension Fund Annual Report and Accounts for 2021 to 2022, and I will gladly pass over to Alex to talk us through.
Thanks, Chair. Morning to all members. Just before I start, actually, Julie Rees has joined the meeting this morning, and Julie is the audit manager at Audit Wales. So I'm going to do an initial overview of the paper and the high-level comments from the annual report, and then I'll invite Julie in to sort of present the ISA 260, which is the auditor report for members' information, before we then turn back to the recommendations. So just in terms of your papers, page 3 and 4 is sort of the essence, really, the breakdown of what the discussion's about today. The pension fund is required to prepare a separate set of accounts to that of the council, and that reporting period is the same, so that's from April to March, and in this case it's April 21 to March 2022. The accounts are actually embedded within the annual report document, which is a document that basically, with regulation and guidance, we're required to produce, and it covers all aspects of pension fund delivery, from the admin, the administration part of the service, all the way through to the investment side, and all of the governance that's encompassed in that. Just in terms of the process, the accounts were submitted to the auditors in May, which was alongside the council's timetable, close down timetable. So that's really pleasing that we managed to achieve that. And obviously the work has been ongoing, and members will be hopefully remember that in September we gave an overview of the draft annual report, which was just sort of a work in progress at the time, and still subject to any final audit comments and any changes that we made. We also then took the item to the local pension board in their sort of good governance and oversight role of pension fund activity. That meeting was on the 9th of November, where members had an update from the auditor and were briefed on the intended recommendation, so outcome of the audit, should I say, which is to provide an unqualified opinion, which is really positive for the fund. I think the purpose of today then is, as I say, is really for the members of the committee in their role to approve the annual report and accounts, and subject to that, the chair and the chief finance officer for the council would sign the letter of representation and essentially sign the document off. And we do have a statutory publication date of the 1st of December. So post the meeting today, on the basis that this recommendation is approved, we would then make arrangements to publish the accounts in time to meet that deadline. I would just highlight a couple of points from the annual report, just for members' information, really. As I say, it is an information document, and I appreciate it's quite a large one, so not planning to go through the detail, but happy to take questions. But I think what we've seen again this year is membership data is up across all of our active members, our deferred members, and our pensioners, to just over 63,000 now, which is a steady increasing trend that we've seen over a number of years. There's a detailed admin section within the report, and some of those updates are shared with the committee on a quarterly basis, but the volume of work year on year is up over 30%. I think we've really seen a pickup again post-COVID with much more activity, which again keeps the team busy. But we're focused on reporting in line with SIPFA requirements and making sure we're compliant with sort of the Pensions Regulator Code of Practice. The fund value has increased importantly again. It was up 210 million in 21-22. So again, just a reminder, that's to the 31st of March, where the fund was at 3.8 billion. It has fallen back, as you're aware, through our quarterly updates due to mainly things that are happening at a macro level. Pension fund is still cash flow positive. This is quite an important consideration, really, and it's not the case for all pension funds, but essentially the amount of money that we collect each month from our employers participating in the scheme is sufficient to meet the monthly payroll to our pensioners. So we're still in a positive cash flow position, which is positive. Obviously, with the value of the fund increasing, performance was positive for the year in absolute terms. It did sort of lag the benchmark. Again, we've had various sort of quarterly updates on that, which gives more context to the reason for the performance. There is another section in the report now which focuses on the WPP, the Wales Pension Partnership. Clearly, the asset pooling side of the LGPS has become a material consideration. The WPP had pooled 16.5 billion of assets from the 8 funds as of the 31st of March. And that actually extends to 23 billion when you add in the passive assets as well, which is quite considerable. At fund level, we've got around 66 to 67% of those assets pooled, which again demonstrates we're well on our way to pooling in line with the government mandate, but also we're ahead or comfortably in terms of average pooling level across all of the LGPS funds in England and Wales, and particularly within Wales. I think probably at that point I'd pause, Chair, in case there's any comments or questions on the annual report itself before I invite Julie in just to present the ISA 260.
Yes, that's fine. So thanks, Alex, and welcome to the meeting, Julie.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so on page 113 of your pack, you've got our audit of accounts report, which basically summarises the findings from our audit of the annual report and accounts for 21-22. Just very quickly, by way of update since drafting the report, in paragraph 5 in the first bullet, we had completion of our contribution income testing still outstanding when drafting that report, but that's been completed now and I've got no issues to report regards that. So subject to now final checks and post-balance sheet events, we've got the Auditor General hopefully scheduled to sign the accounts on the 23rd. The audit has gone very well, and in terms of issues to report to you, I've got no uncorrected misstatements that I need to bring to you as those charged with governance today. In terms of corrected misstatements, they were largely presentational, and I think I've noted in para 12 there a couple of the notes that have been updated, but nothing of significance to discuss with you today. And I have got no other issues regards wider internal controls, etc., that we identified during the audit to bring to your attention. We request, as you'll know, certain confirmations from management and those charged with governance annually to go in a letter of representation to be presented to us alongside the signed accounts. The template for that is in Appendix 1, and so just for your information there. And Appendix 2 is the draft audit opinion that we're proposing. We recommend the Auditor General signs on Wednesday, which is unqualified. and happy to take any questions, and just to pass on my thanks to Alex, Lisa and Suzanne for all their assistance during the audit. But very clean report, so happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Before we get going, I'd like to add my thanks to record as well for all the work that you've done at the Wells Audit Office, but also to the staff. I think listening to Alex's headline figures, it's a really robust position, which is always a good thing to see. So I'll take questions from the room. If anybody has any textual questions referring to the report, could you please tell us what page you're referring to? Because it will limit the amount of time it takes to work out what paragraph you're on. And I'm happy to take any observations from members of the board as well, but maybe I'll take any questions from members. Not there's a two-tier system, but I'll take questions from members of the committee first, and then we'll take observations from anyone on the board. And maybe Ian, if you've got any final observations, I'll take those as well. So I've got Councillor Williams. David's got his hand up. Any other councillors wish to contribute? Okay, in which case, David.
All it is, sorry, Chair. Obviously, I'm conscious that, this report essentially relates to a period prior to this pensions committee. So I just wondered whether that sort of is reflected in any way, and is that something that audit would comment on? I'm sure it must happen a lot, but it's a slightly unusual situation, obviously, given that. With the exception of John, Councillor Haller, I think we're all new.
That's a good point. Is Julie, are you the best place to answer that, or Alex? Do you want to say something? Alex, why don't you go first?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Williams. I think obviously just being mindful of the reporting date, the reporting period here, the accounts were to the 31st of March, which obviously at the time that concluded was with the prior committee. As I say, I think from a governance perspective, we've obviously brought the update back to you in September, and sort of opportunity to comment and discussion around the contents of the annual report. And today is really the formal process. The one thing I would just add is that the local pension board have been a continuing factor in the oversight process, and have also had the opportunity to consider the documents and comment. Hopefully that addresses your questions from that point of view. I don't know if Julie's got anything to add.
No, I don't think so, Alex. The pension board, one of the things we also do is write to those charged with governance management and the committees to seek their assurance around representations on fraud, related parties, etc., legality, and that was all sought and responded to with the previous incumbent. So we've got those considerations as well to factor in, but nothing further to what Alex said.
David?
No, that's fine. That's fine, Chair. I just thought it was helpful to get clarification on that point. That was all. Thank you.
Fine. And of course, although I'm signing it off, I mean, this is Glyn's swan song report. So actually, as you've all read, the introduction at the beginning is coming from Glyn. So it's him presenting his last year. So Ian, any other member of the board, any observations? You don't have to if you don't want to, but.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity. Really, as Julie and Alex have already said, the board has looked through this report already, asked a number of questions, all of which were satisfactorily answered. And on behalf of the board, unless any of my board members have any other questions, I think we're very content with the report. And I'd echo what you said about an excellent piece of work by both the auditor and by the team in the pension fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, hopefully we're all going to be in furious agreement. If I could then, could members, or I'll take the vote then, as we're all online, let's all press that little button. Right, I'll take the vote then. If all members of the committee could, if members of the committee are happy with the vote, could you please raise your hands now? Oh God, I meant electronically. I can't look at two bloody things at the same time. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and me 5. Okay. 5. Okay, I make that, Geraint, and you have sharper eyes than me. That of the five members of the committee here, we've all voted in favour to approve the report. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks, Chair.
Excellent. In which case, thank you very much, everybody. Moving on to the next, and thank you very much, Julie, for joining us. See you again, same time, same place.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheerio. Take care. Bye bye. Right, moving on then. Item number 4. This is the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, the TCFD, consultation response that we've appended to the agenda. This is a verbal update from your man, Alex Bull. So, Alex, over to you.
Thanks, Chair. As I say, just a brief verbal update on this item with a document that can follow for members' information afterwards. But I think I just wanted to just put this on members' radar, really. So, administrative authorities, local government pension scheme funds are going to be required to disclose our governance strategy, risk management, metrics, targets, all assigned to climate risk. And opportunities. Some of this is already being done as part of a matter of course, and increasingly we're expanding our capabilities in this area, as has been reported into the committee before. But what this is all about, this is essentially a government-led reporting requirement, which will be mandatory for the LGPS, with effect from the first reporting date will be December 2024. So the accounting period that relates to will be April 23 to March 24. So effectively commencing in 4 months' time. The TCFD, or the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, that is essentially for us to disclose our climate exposure risk, but also to supplement that document with, as I say, some confirmation of how effectively our governance operates, our risk management approach, and obviously strategy. This document is, the government have issued a consultation period for schemes to essentially respond to a number of questions on these areas in terms of what the proposals are being put forward. I should also add that this is already in operation in the private sector for funds over a certain size of assets under management. It's expected that it'll apply to all local government schemes, regardless of asset value. And so essentially we're making preparations internally and with our colleagues at the WPP now to be in a good position to be able to report on this in sort of 12, 16 months time. The purpose really of just bringing this as a verbal update, and unfortunately working with colleagues across the Wales pool, we haven't had time to formalise or finalise our response to the consultation, but the intention is that will be issued by Thursday, which is the deadline. The response is pretty much finalised now. It's just going through some proofreading. So what I was proposing, Chair, is that I just circulate a copy with members of the committee and the board for information, as I say. But I really just wanted you to make you aware that the intention was the fund would respond to this, given that it's quite a material topic for all asset owners and institutional investors at the moment, and I think it's right that we're seen to respond. Just a quick comment based on the actual proposal itself. It seems very reasonable in terms of the requirements of this. I think there's some clarification around some of the specific metrics that the government have proposed, and there's potentially too much flexibility in that in terms of how it's interpreted and which methods or metrics you use to report on, and some of that is the feedback we've issued, which hopefully comes through in the response that I'll circulate. But I think generally this is a positive step forward. It will give more clarity and allow for a better understanding really of that climate risk across portfolios. So as I say, I'll share a copy of the consultation response with you, and this will be something that I think probably will come back on the agenda over the next 12 to 16 months as we progress with sort of meeting the requirements to report. Happy to take any comments or questions on that, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Alex. The only comment I had was basically to suggest that we made some provision, if not on the 12th, at a future meeting. So actually, if members wanted to go through the response and go through the TCFD in any greater detail, we'd have that opportunity. But maybe what we'll do is when you circulate it on Thursday, if my inbox is full of requests from members to have an hour-long discussion about what we've said, then we'll add it to the agenda, and otherwise we might just talk about it under AOB on the 12th. If anybody has any burning questions, people are happy to go about it on that basis. Yeah, great. So thank you, Alex. In which case then, agenda item number 5, date of the next meeting. That is the 12th of the 12th, 2022, which has a nice ring to it. And if nobody, I've not been notified of any matters of AOB, but if anybody has any, I'm willing to take them from the floor. In which case, we're going to draw the formal meeting to a close. Like I said earlier on, though, if the members of the committee could hang around for 5-10 minutes, there's an item that Alex, Nigel and I would like to talk you through. Cheers, thank you very much.